What about the mistakes that people normally make when they buy a property? After buying a property, what the most common mistake they do?
That's a very good question, because I will always suggest, this of the main role of a lawyer after the sale. And this will entrain taking care of all the taxes, not only at the moment of buying the property, which is the transfer tax or VAT that we have already spoken about, but also the non-resident tax that needs to be paid on a yearly basis, meaning that every year you will need to present this non-resident tax. And usually when you have hired a lawyer, we will take over every year payment. Also, you need to bear in mind that you will have to pay on a yearly basis the EV and waste tax. It doesn't really have a concrete number. It may vary between 500 or 1,000 depending on the area, but it's a yearly payment that it's better to have it set directly direct debit to your bank account, because some owners find out after 8 years that they have a debt with the town hall of 10,000 years. So we better pay attention to this.
What it means to be a resident in Spain?
Being a resident in Spain entrains spending more than half a year in the Spanish territory, more than 183 days average a year. For this, the tax authority will regard you as a resident in Spain already. So you need to be very careful of how many days you spend here, because once the tax authority will consider you a tax resident, it will entrain paying for your worldwide asset with the Spanish fiscal regulation.
But it depends on the agreement that the countries have.
Yes.
For example, I know that I'm from Brazil. I still have a company in Brazil, more than 10 years. Sometimes I send some money. Of course, from my company, I release some profit from my company to my private person, and I send money here. I don't pay any taxes because of the agreement between Brazil and Spain. So I'm a resident in Spain. I pay my taxes here, but I also pay my taxes in Brazil. And after paying my taxes in Brazil, I can transfer my money here without any other taxes to pay because of the agreement between the countries. So depending on the country, is it different?
It's different, definitely. But this is because you have been very well advised at the moment of setting all your fiscal framework, right? And this is because you're paying already your due taxes in Brazil. Brazil is aware of your economic activity in your country, so they control what you're moving there. And the agreement is with Spain is having the due communication so that the money you produce there and the money you produce here in Spain is not double taxed. Okay, so Spain is considering you a tax resident here, but respect, thanks to this agreement, the amount of money and the capital you're moving in the other countries, so that you're not double taxed and you're considered only a tax resident here.
I think these kind of things are very interesting when we talk about, because it's a practical thing. Most of the people who watch my videos, they know I'm from Brazil. I still have a company there in real estate. I've been building houses there for a long time. There are some practical and curious things we can talk about, like taxes, for example. Mm-hmm. In Brazil, taxes are much lower, still much lower than Spain. And that's why many people complain about Spain. Mm-hmm. If we think like being an entrepreneur in Spain, you just talk to people, it's very disappointing because of all the expenses you have with an employee. After you pay your taxes for your company, you have to pay the taxes for a private person. For example, in Brazil, it's not like that. But I know in Brazil, many people complain about taxes everywhere. Nobody wants to pay taxes, but there are some interesting things also that you can deal with a lot of money in Brazil or other countries like Germany. Here you cannot pay more than 1,000 euros in cash. They control everything. I've been talking to some clients and they are very disappointed, very angry with Hacienda because they charge a lot of taxes and they try to control you too much. Mm-hmm. How do you say it? Take care, don't say bad things about Hacienda.
No, I'm not saying bad things about Hacienda. The regulations are what they are right now. We can always complain or act to try to change it and benefit the most of the people here. But despite Spain may have high taxes, and that is a reality, in comparison with the rest of Europe, we are no more. And actually, we need to consider not only the level of taxes that we have, but also some other very beautiful things, like this is the first world. We are living in such a tropical place, which is Marbella, not only because of the atmosphere and the weather, but also because of the people around here. There is a lot of prosperity here. We live in a very privileged place. Even though there are very high taxes, we are also surrounded by an environment of a lot of prosperity. You know it, a lot of business, a lot of people who come here and want to move the economy. We need to consider that also we are very, very privileged. And as well, regarding the culture, our environment, we are at the end of the day in the heart of Andalusia. There is such an amount of history and culture that surrounds us that you cannot find it any other else.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. You pay taxes, but here you are living in a first world. The quality of life is really good, really high level. So let's talk with the investors now. I'm sure there are some investors watching this video and they want to know about the taxes they pay when they make profit here. For example, they buy a property of 400,000 and then they renovate it. They invested 500,000 on the property and they are selling for 700,000. So this 200,000 would be profit, but how much taxes they would pay regarding this profit they are making?
Yeah, for this occasion, there is a tax that is the capital gain tax. And capital gain tax will always consider the benefit made from the selling, right? So this 200,000 that you mentioned, this capital gain tax is 19% on the profit you have made.
19% on the profit, okay. And the plusvalia also?
See, but the plusvalia is not for renovations. Like when you're a seller, you need to consider that there are two taxes that you will pay. The first of it is plusvalia. Plusvalia is a tax based on the cadastral value. For that, you will need a lawyer or a consultant to figure out exactly which is the amount you will pay. And the other one is the capital gain tax. And this is paid based on the profit you have made when selling the property. So let's put an example. When you have bought for 400,000 euros and you sell for 600,000, that difference of 200,000 euros will be taxed always on 19%. Okay?